the Latin American, the Caribbean Artificial Information Systems track in AMCIS. So we are going to have three papers today. We're going to do 20 minutes of presentation and then 10 minutes for Q&A. So I have the 5 minutes reminder and the 1 minute reminder. So please, I keep track of the time and I'll let you know. So let's go ahead. And the first presentation is, I told you, in Portuguese, it's Cesar and Engrenagens, the use of internet. So it's Flavio Barbosa, Carlo Bellini, and the authors. And this paper was the presenter of our talk. So let's give you an applause. So thank you. Welcome to
Thank you for your generosity. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. So I am Carlo Bellini, the second author. I'm already pronouncing my name as in English. My name is Carlo Bellini, not Carlo Bellini as I said. I spent the last 1 year and a half here in the U.S. and working in the University of North Carolina, Greensboro, and so I learned to pronounce my name this way. So the paper is fully in Portuguese if you check it online. The English equivalent title would be this, Nuts and Bolts for Internet Use. There is a reason for this, a very specific reason. It makes an analogy with a very famous sociological work by John Elster called Nuts and Bolts for the Social Sciences. And it is central to our work. I'm not sure about the format, the visual format of this presentation, because I had a serious problem with my computer. It broke, and it broke totally, and I didn't have anymore the Office package in order to open the documents, etc. I downloaded this LibreOffice package, and it was a very hard time to, and I see that there are problems here. But yeah, sorry for that. Sorry for that. And also, I received the slides from the first author, and the tables were in picture format, so I couldn't edit them, and he put everything in Portuguese. Anyway, the most interesting part of this paper, in my opinion, is the theoretical preparation. From the methods to the discussion and conclusions, we have more or less the same. That is, statistical manipulation and discussion of the empirical results. And in my opinion, again, I think the most interesting part is the beginning. And if I do not progress to the end of the paper, at least in my perspective, I would be successful if I can motivate an interaction with you, for you to give us feedback to see if we are in the correct direction or not, right? So the motivation for the study is very, very simple. Maybe Luis Antonio will remember a discussion we had in AMCIS 2013 in Chicago, when I asked the audience, I was in the audience, I asked the presenter and the full audience for the differentiation between use, adoption, acceptance, and at least for me, the most interesting answer came from Luis Antonio, Dr. Joya, so since then, I have this in mind to try to develop further the differentiation of this concept. The paper is not really about this, but it is a key issue. So, this John Elster is a political scientist and sociologist here in the US. And he says that we should focus on the individual to understand uh, actions at the social level. But we need to start with the individual. And in his framework, a very famous one in these two domains, political science and sociology, says that opportunities and desires are the key motivators for human action. And there is a very interesting discussion that, if you want, we can uh, go deeper into it if the audience thinks it would be promising for this session, right? At this moment, I will just state that the conflict between opportunities and desires is key in the decision process at the individual level, and the decision process naturally precedes any action. Then we have uh, this very traditional stream of research in the IS field. It is not only represented by the TAM model, but obviously this is the most famous one. And the focus of TAM is on attitudes. But focusing on attitudes, this decision to focus on attitudes limits our understanding about the effective, purposeful use of information and communication technologies. Use cannot be explained solely on the basis of attitudes, whereas acceptance, and there is a question of adoption, maybe. In fact, TAM has limited explanatory and predictive power, and then I add this observation. Is it because TAM is not really aligned with, not really intended to explain use, but only acceptance? Nevertheless, in what we read in journals, what we see in conferences, is empirical research trying to explain use based on the model. At this moment, I will go to the next slide. This is a picture borrowed from the internet, a very typical one to describe the TAM model. And you see the last construct is use. But how can we effectively explain use from two perceptions that lead to an attitude, that lead to an intention? There is something maybe that is maybe lacking in this rationale, right? So, what does this have to do with Elder's book? Nothing. At this moment, nothing. But then I tried to make some links between the key constructs for in Elster's framework and what may be lacking in ICT use research. The approximation I made, and this is the key point in our discussion, that is, I would benefit very much from you if you can tell me what is wrong about this. The approximation is that Elster's opportunities may be linked to a construct that I will end up arguing that is lacking in the technology acceptance models, some related models and research, which is skills. Whereas the attitudes that are very common in TAM-related studies may be the outcome, may result from human desires. This is the approximation, right? So I would further argue that besides complementing, using this construct, besides complementing with skills, one's skills, these traditional models based on some research tradition. Also, there is another tradition in the literature that is most commonly represented by studies on the digital divide that may have benefited if we had from the beginning included skills as a key construct. This digital divide research tradition is mostly represented by two concepts that are usually treated as in a chronological sequence. Digital inclusion, that is, I intend to include people in the digital society, then make them more or less equal in the digital society, and a very, very recent topic in the literature, more specifically, if we can define a single year when the discussion appeared in a high-impact journal, effectiveness in ICT use came about in our literature in 2013 in an article published in ISI. Right? In this article, they, first author is Burton Jones, the composite surname. These authors argued that ICT use effectiveness is a poorly researched construct in our field. It's very recent. So, and I would add that it is because up until now we focused merely on attitudes and not on developing proper skills to use internet resources. Right? So we have this research question, which is what it is a very operational one. Do an individual's skills and attitudes, along with social demographic factors, explain the use of the internet, in parentheses, the information available in the internet? What is using the internet? Is mostly, not only this, but it is mostly using the information available in the internet. Towards meeting that individual's purpose, right? You cannot see, I cannot see here also, but I know that it is how the sentence goes, right? Towards meeting the individual's purposes, right? So I already introduced this picture. These are mostly income-related studies, and our criticism is that use should not be included here, because you cannot ground use, effective use, only by means of originally perceptions about myself and about the system. That is the system useful for me? Is the system easy for me? That is, it is a perception both about the system and about me. It seems that skills are lacking. And we argue additionally that skills, effective skills, are not the same as perceived easy of use of the system. We have an argument for that, although it seems quite obvious that seeing the system as easy is not really the same as whether or not I have the skills to use the system. I make many analogies. Sometimes we in Brazil criticize a soccer player that, wow, it was so easy to, to, to do the right movement, to hit the goal, etc., etc., etc. Have you ever tried to play with a professional soccer player? I tried several times and it is super difficult. But in my group of friends, I think I am a very good player. But playing with professionals is impossible. It's absolutely impossible. The most difficult thing is to kick the ball outside the big, I don't know the word in English, the big area, freely translating, literally translating from the Portuguese, and hope that the ball will hit the goal. Sometimes we do not have enough strength. So developing positive attitudes and intentions is not enough to explain effective use of anything. Something is obviously lacking, and it seems to be skills, right? So, this is the literature review that we mentioned in the paper. If you read the paper, although it is in Portuguese, you'll see that we cut many parts, and we explicitly stated that we do not want to compromise our possibilities to publish in a submit to a journal, etc., etc., etc. So the literature is not restricted to these sources, although these are for sure very good sources in terms of the quality itself in each paper and the tradition these researchers lead in the world for more than a decade. So we developed some literature review on internet-related skills and internet-related attitudes. These are the main constructs. Basically, well, you can read it fast, and it's more or less self-explainable. This is about terminology. We decided to write as jargon, knowledge about the jargon of the internet, and well, internet-related attitudes. Basically, we have this. We decided to state as propositions instead of hypotheses, although we statistically treat them as hypotheses. As we are developing it is, but I do not like to say like it is a new model. It seems too strong for a model that, on the other hand, seems too obvious. But it is a model. Since it is a beginning of this discussion, we treated the hypotheses as propositions. And, well, you can see that we believe that a set of skills and attitudes will impact strategic skills. Strategic skills, as defined by our sources, are the very ability to use properly the information that is available in the right? You remember that in the research question, we stated that we wanted to see how effective one is to meet a purpose according to a set of attitudes and skills in the internet. This purpose is, for the sake of the internet environment, is dealing with information. The literature or the literature we chose conceives this as strategic skills. This is the term, we cannot modify it. And I am ahead of time. So we have, as I said in the beginning, this is basically a regular statistical study, and this is not the most important thing to discuss in my perspective. If we can focus on the initial discussion, I would be totally satisfied. I'm sorry for being Portuguese, as I said before. I could not manipulate these tables as they are pictures, right? And the final, these are the empirical results that broadly confirm our expectations, not all expectations, but most of our expectations. And the most important thing is that at least for this specific study, done with more than 200 participants through this regular regression-based surveys, we didn't invalidate our set of propositions, and the main idea that skills besides attitudes are important to explain effective use, right? And if this is true, and this if is something to be confirmed or not further, if this is true, the contribution of that book by Elster is important to have called us attention that not only a set of attitudes, positive attitudes, that may result in desires, human desires to do something, but also the opportunities I have to fulfill the desire, and the opportunities would be represented by the skills I have to manipulate the technology, explain much better ICT effective use.